Cranial nerve 7, also known as the facial nerve, the fibers leave pons and travel through the temporal bone via the internal acoustic meatus, also known as the human ear. They exit via the stylomastoid foramen, located beneath the skull, to reach the face. The function of the facial nerve 7 is mixed. It supplies somatic motor fibers to muscles of facial expression, such as frowning and smiling, in the posterior belly of the digastric muscle. Parasympathetic motor fibers to lacrimal and salivary glands carries sensory fibers from taste receptors of the anterior tongue. Cranial nerve 8, also known as the vestibulocochlear nerve, fibers run from the inner ear equilibrium that we are unable to see on the models at hand, but can be demonstrated on the diagram, and the hearing apparatus housed within the temporal bone, demonstrated on the skull, through the internal acoustic meatus to enter pons. The function of the vestibulocochlear nerve 8 is mostly sensory. The vestibular branch transmits impulses associated with the sense of equilibrium, as demonstrated by Shiniza, from the vestibular apparatus and semicircular canals. The cochlear branch transmits impulses associated with hearing from the cochlea. Small motor component adjusts the sensitivity of the sensory receptors within the nerve. Cranial nerve 9, also known as the glossopharyngeal nerve. The fibers emerge from the medulla oblongata and leave the skull via the jugular foramen to run to the throat. The function of glossopharyngeal nerve 9 is mixed. Somatic motor fibers serve pharyngeal muscles, and parasympathetic motor fibers serve the salivary glands. Sensory fibers carry impulses from the pharynx, tonsils, posterior tongue, and taste buds, and from chemoreceptors and pressure receptors of the carotid artery. Testing of these cranial nerves is done through a series of demonstrations shown by Shiniza and Tammy. For the facial nerve, the anterior 2/3 of the tongue is tested for the ability of taste. Symmetry of the face is checked. Subject is asked to close eyes, smile, whistle, and so on. Tearing is assessed with ammonia fumes. For the vestibulocochlear nerve, hearing is checked by air and bone conduction using a tuning fork. And lastly, for the glossopharyngeal nerve, a tongue depressor is used to check the position of the uvula. Gag and swallowing reflexes are checked. Subject is then asked to speak and cough. Posterior third of tongue may be tested for taste.